Charles Soule and Jan Bazaldua continue their wonderful Operation Starlight storyline, which takes an interesting and welcome turn as the High Republic era droid is activated, but nothing goes as planned and deadly deals are made to ensure the survival of the Rebel Alliance. Soule continues to tell a fantastic story that, instead of focusing on the larger main characters of the Star Wars movies like Luke Skywalker, instead it focuses on some of the newer heroes of the rebellion like Starlight Squadron, Kes Dameron and his wife Shara Bay. A lot of this issue and arc so far has had ties to Soule's previous Star Wars work, specifically his fantastic Lando miniseries, as Lobot's character arc from that continues here with some great new pieces of information regarding how he is with his implants and his implants in general, as well as being revealed that he could maybe return to a normal human being at some point in the future, if he lives, that is. The High Republic droid that was introduced last issue was an interesting new inclusion, and I enjoy how totally different it was than what I assumed it would be, since I thought it would be a droid similar to that of 3PO, being that they're ancestors. But I like that this droid was a little bit more guarded, a little bit more cynical, and really quite smart, not wanting to give up the information, knowing that if he did, he would probably be deactivated again. So I'm looking forward to learning what happens to the droid after this arc ends and his usefulness is fulfilled. Jan Bazaldua's art continues to be a lot of fun, which is surprising considering this comic was mostly people just standing around. Jan brought some really great Akira vibes to Lobot this issue, with the character using his telepathic and computer link to other robots to control them with his mind. It looked really great, and his new look is really quite cool as well, and I like that his implants now kind of form like hair for him as well. I think it's quite great, and it's a great progression to what we saw in the movies, which was really quite a uniform and sterile look, and now he's got something of a little bit of a flair to him, kind of fitting that he does since he hangs out with Lando. Star Wars issue 10 was another awesome issue from Charles Soule and Jan Bazaldua, continuing the great Operation Starlight arc and taking it in a new and interesting direction while focusing on some of the newer creations in the Star Wars universe and giving them some backstory and some development. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Star Wars issue 10 finds R2 and 3PO working on the talkie to try and get it to work. Kes hopes that Needle's sacrifice wasn't in vain, and Leia reassures him that they will make the Pathfinder's death matter, since 3PO should be able to interface with the droid, being it's his ancestor. Lando agrees, saying that 3PO is all of the galaxy's got right now, as the droid brings the talkie back online. The ancient droid, however, attacks 3PO, throwing him across the room as R2 tries to defend himself with an electric prod, but the ancient droid redirects the energy back at R2, throwing him across the room as well. Lando knows that this is some disaster as he realizes that Lobot is missing. Lobot meanwhile enters the lab, confronting the droid and using his implants to interface with it remotely, calming it down and causing it to talk. The droid asks who they are as the overly excited 3PO can't begin to explain how Lobot's implants managed to reorganize the droid's corrupted systems. 3PO introduces himself to the ancient droid and welcomes him to the future, reassuring him that despite being obsolete and his ancient circuitry decaying, he has some importance since he has the Trawak language in his systems and they need to prepare a language module for download. The talkie refuses despite 3PO saying that it could save the galaxy itself, explaining that 3PO called it obsolete, so why would it give up the one thing valuable enough about them that the rebels decided to bring him back online? The droid doesn't know why they want the Trawak language, but if he gives it up, they will just scrap him. Lando arrives, calming the outraged 3PO since he knows the droid wants to make a deal and they are his specialty. Lando explains that his friend Lobot fixed the ancient droid after he went crazy on the other droids, so the way he sees it, the droid needs them as much as they need him. The talkie wants to know what he's offering, so Lando says the droid translates what needs to be translated into the Trawak language, and in return, Lobot will make sure his mind is kept straight and free from corruption. The talkie thinks that this could be acceptable, learning from Leia that he needs to translate some military communications, since the galaxy is at war against the a tyrannical empire. The droid wonders what the Empire would use to describe them, but accepts the deal and will help as long as Lobo helps work around his corruption. Lando asks Lobot if he's up to this, but the man doesn't respond, yet Lando knows he's good with it. Kes asks how he could possibly know that, leading to Lando explaining Lobot was never always like this since he was forced by the Empire to get the implants for him to do battle calculations for them. But he broke free and they have worked together ever since. But one heist they got in over their heads, and to ensure they got away clean, Lobot gave up most of his mind. So now he's mostly machine, and since Lobot took care of him then, Lando has decided to take care of him now, which has led to him being able to read Lobot like a book and understand what he wants and means. Lando takes his leave as Leia tells the talkie that while it probably doesn't matter to him, he's on the right side of this war. The droid knows that he's always on the right side, his side. Lando meanwhile is contacted by Bib Fortuna, who asks why Lando hasn't supplied Jabba with the information regarding the rebel operations, like he promised he would. Bib thinks that Lando was lying, since that's not above Lando's reputation, and maybe that will cause Lando to be dead soon. Lando tells the Twi'lek the Imperials broke the rebel communications, and they are working on some new codes to bring the fleet together safely. Bib knows that knowledge of the new codes could be valuable to Jabba, and he could sell it on to the Imperial allies he has, and maybe Lando could benefit from it as well, but Jabba's patience is wearing thin. Lando takes a moment to consider his options, telling Fortuna that he will think about it. Elsewhere, Leia briefs Starlight Squadron on their mission to find the other cells of the rebel fleet, giving their astromech droids the rendezvous coordinates the other cells should go to in case of emergency. Leia says that if they should find them, they are to warn them that the Empire has cracked their codes and to give them the new codes 3PO has developed with the talkie droid and to wait for further instructions. Wishing the pilots good luck, Leia leaves them to get going, meeting with Kes, telling him Starlight's ground team has its own mission and he is definitely getting his own assignment. Kes tells Leia he'll meet with her in the ready room, wanting to have a moment with his wife Shara first. Kes goes to meet his wife before she heads out. She tells him not to worry about her since her new team is filled with some great pilots and the new squadron name has a nice ring to it. Kes guesses that this is it, but his wife tells him it's not, kissing him before jumping in her A-wing and joining the rest of Starlight Squadron as they head into deep space near Felucia. In the void of space, they find debris from the 6th Division Rebel fleet. Scanning the destroyed ships, they find no survivors, but they do pick up processor signals, meaning that some droids could be floating around still active. Soon Wedge gets some more signals, finding them to be Imperial as a group of probe droids attack. Latching onto the ship's astromech droids, the probes try and access the information the droids are carrying, drilling into their heads. The rebels find that they have lost contact with Starlight Squadron, learning the Empire must have laid a trap for them. As they scramble to do something, the talkie wonders if his connection with Lobot is now two-way, since he can see a stutter in the interface between the organic and the inorganic elements within the man, a common problem with hybroids of his day. He reaches out to Lobot and actually manages to fix his mind for a brief moment, making Lobot wonder where he is, before he reverts back to his silent robotic self, making the talkie find it fascinating. Starlight Squadron meanwhile try and come up with a plan to stop the probes taking the information. Shara knows the only real solution to this is to self-destruct the droids and eject them, knowing it's the only way to ensure what's left of the rebellion lives on. The X-Wings eject their astromechs, which explode, killing off all of the probes, as Lulo knows that now they have a new set of problems since they need to figure out how to get home, but now they can take a breather. The squad, however, don't realize the probes weren't the only one in the system, as the Tarkin's will arrives, opening fire on them. Lando meanwhile learns that thanks to Lobot's circuits running his own systems and the talkies, it's only a matter of time before his system fully collapses, which will mean he will die. Leia says they have to make more translations since Starlight Squad is lost and they need to send out emergency codes to them so they can get home. The talkie agrees to do so, but Lando refuses to put Lobot through that since it will only make Lobot die quicker, and dying wasn't part of any deal they made, so no more translations until they get it figured out. Kes says that while he's sympathetic to what Lando is saying, his wife is out there, and if he has to choose, he chooses his wife, pulling his blaster out and pointing it at Lando.